And welcome to the Azure Cloud Connect show on MongoDB TV. While we give everyone another minute to join, let us know where you're watching from. I'm in Texas. And so we have a really amazing show planned for you today. We're going to talk about MongoDB and VS Code, and we're even going to talk a little bit about AI as well. So we look forward to that. We have a special guest today. Let's go ahead and bring onto the stream Gaurab, how are you?
Hi, Jesse. Thank you for having me. I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. You want to give us a quick introduction? How long have you been at MongoDB? What do you do? All of that.
Yeah, for sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Gaurab. I'm a senior product manager here at MongoDB, and I specifically work on the DevTools team, and even more specifically on the VS Code extension as well as Mongo SH. And yeah, I've been at Mongo for 2 months. I think just a little bit over 2 months. So yeah, it's been a very fun journey, and yeah, excited to be here and show off the VS Code extension.
That might be a record. I don't know what's the quickest we've been able to get someone on a live stream after they've been hired. 2 months. That's pretty quick. So,
yeah.
Thanks for joining. We appreciate it. I'm just looking through the comments. We've got people joining from all over the place. India. We've got Louisville, Kentucky, Atlanta, Delhi, Nepal, Paris, all over the place. Where are you at, Grub?
I'm in New York City. How about yourself? Oh yeah, you mentioned Texas, right?
Texas. I am in Texas, yes. So what are we going to talk about today?
Yeah, so today we're gonna walk through the VS Code extension, and more specifically, we're gonna talk about how it's gonna help you develop faster by having your application code as well as your access to your database side by side. And we're just gonna go through the little to major features that I personally really love, and that I know from customers that I've heard that they really love. So yeah, we'll just go through that, and then we'll also go through in that process we'll go through a short case study where we build a very, very, very tiny website together. And also in that process, we'll look through how you can call out to OpenAI, Azure's OpenAI service, directly from the VS Code extension. So it'll be really fun.
Nice. I'm looking forward to that. So as we're going to be building something. If you have questions, put them in the chat. We'll answer some questions as we go if they're relevant. If not, we'll answer also some questions towards the end. So put the questions in the chat as we go. Whenever you're ready to share your screen, I'll let you get started. Just let me know.
Sweet. Just one moment here. Ready to go?
Nice. All right, let's add your screen. There we go. All right, take it away.
Awesome. So yeah, thanks everyone for joining. Really excited to talk about the MongoDB VS Code extension. First of all, I want to go through maybe a little bit about VS Code. So the recent Stack Overflow 2022 survey came out, and it mentioned 74% of developers prefer VS Code as their primary IDE. So that was one of the main motivations for us to also make sure that as developers, as you developers are building your application, we also want to make sure you have access to MongoDB side by side, so you're able to prototype your queries faster, or run any scripts against MongoDB directly in your IDE without having to leave that window. And Jesse, one really fun thing is we hit 1 million downloads of our extension. So that's, yeah, I guess I'm just gonna.
Yes, that is amazing. I don't have any. I should have prepared some like fireworks and confetti and etc. But we did release a shorts video. So if you're on YouTube, if you look at shorts, there's a video celebrating that. So that's amazing. 1 million downloads.
Yeah, it's incredible. And yeah, and as of right now, it has 4.5 average rating in the extension store. So it is really a beloved extension of MongoDB users. So yeah, it's incredible that we got to the 1 million download mark.
And then while we're talking about that, let me just put this up on the screen real quick. If you don't have it installed already, you can check it out here. MDB link /MDBTV _VS Code. The link is also in the description below if you're watching on YouTube. I believe it's in the link of LinkedIn as well, in the description of LinkedIn.
And then moving over just really quickly, going over the main things that you can kind of do with the extension. First and foremost, you can navigate and explore your data without having to leave your IDE, which is VS Code. You can use Playgrounds, which all of these we're going to go through later in a demo, but you can use Playgrounds to kind of prototype your CRUD operations. You can export queries or aggregations to a language of your choice. You can launch the the Mongo shell directly in the IDE itself, which I think is really cool. And then finally, you can also define your Atlas resources through Terraform. There are short, autocomplete shortcuts in there that you can use. That part we will not cover in the demo. There are, a couple YouTube videos and also one live stream, I believe, that already covers this. I think it should be in the comment, either in the description or the comments popping up right now. So if that's something that you're interested in, you can always look at those videos.
Yes.
So let's jump into a demo. So Jesse, I was thinking it would be fun for us to kind of go through a case study together of building a very minor a very small website. What do you think about that?
Yes, for sure. I love building things. That's how I learn. You can talk to me all day about it, but until I see it, I really don't learn. I don't get it.
For sure, me too. I'm that way as well.
Yeah.
So Jesse, let's pretend we're an e-commerce company and we specifically are a guitar store, and we want to build a website where we've taken all the reviews that are left in our website. We've extracted them into like a zip file, and we basically want to build like a small website that shows these comments. And later we can also go through enhancing these reviews that we've extracted through sentiment analysis via OpenAI. Does that sound good?
Awesome. Let's do it.
Cool. So maybe I'll show the website in its current state. So it's hosted in my local computer. Right now it just has a title and then an empty table. And then where we want to get, Jesse, is eventually having a table that's populated with the name of the reviewers, the rating that they left on our website, as well as the review that they gave us.
And where's that rating coming from?
So this rating is, it's like when you drop a review, you'll have your username, the rating that you want to give the guitar, and the review that you want to leave.
Perfect. It's like stars or something, right?
Right, okay. Stars. Yeah, perfect. Exactly.
Got it.
And then we'll get to this point about midway through the demo, and then after this we'll do some fancy stuff with sentiment analysis. So so yeah, let's get started.
Nice. Let's do
it. So I'll open up VS Code here. And on the left-hand side, I just really want to quickly go through the code base that we have set up, which is super minimal. So we have one style sheet file here, very simple, and one. So for now, please ignore this one. But we only have one EJS file, which is basically a templating engine that we're using to render the data that we pass back from our backend. So this is the entire.
Yeah, perfect. No, real quick, the audience, who here knows or has used EJS before? Because this is not something that you see every day. I kind of view it as more of like along the same lines of PHP. It's amazing though. So sorry, continue.
Yeah, for sure. And then finally, there's literally just one index file that defines our node server. It's an Express server, and then only has one controller. I know I'm jumping back and forth, but it literally only has one controller, one endpoint / reviews, and all it's doing is let me close the sidebar. All it's doing is it's connecting to the Guitar Store DB and pulling from the reviews collection, and it's essentially effectively just passing the reviews that we have in our database to the front end.
Nice. Real quick, I just want to address a comment here. Is there a way to share this video? I just also just want to let everyone know that this video is live right now, but you will be able to watch it again, video on demand on YouTube and on LinkedIn after it's over. So you will be able to see it after we're done. Sorry. Continue.
Awesome. No worries. Yeah, for sure. And then so this is literally the entirety of the application. And then one last thing I wanted to point out was this reviews.zip. So Jesse, if you remember, I said we extracted these reviews from our core website and we've put it into a zip file that we're going to use the VS Code extension to kind of seed our database of this new website that we're building.
Nice.
So really quickly, the way that you install the extension is you go to this extension bar on the left-hand side in VS Code, and then you simply search MongoDB, and then the first one with this blue check mark is the extension, which you can install. And once installed, you'll see a leaf icon here at the bottom left, and then that is the extension. So when you click on it, let me remove this index file here. You can click you can hit the plus button right next to connections to connect to your cluster, or I believe when you first install, there's a big blue button that says add a new connection.
Yep.
So here I'm already connected to, let me just show the form. This is what the form looks like, and you can hit connect with a string, or if you have advanced configuration, you can open this form as well. So
you can just get your connection string from Atlas, or if you're running it locally, either way, just use your connection string there, and then you'll be at this point where he's at right now.
Right. So here I'm already connected to my cluster, and as you can see, I have all the databases that are listed underneath. However, I don't have that guitar store database that I looked at earlier. So for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up a seeding script, and I'm going to quickly run it. Jesse, you do not need to worry about this for now. I'm going to come back to this later in the demo.
That's a lot of stuff. I have questions, but I'll hold them for later.
So basically, all you need to know, the TLDR of this is it inserted 139 reviews into a database in my cluster. Okay. So once that's run successfully, I can hit refresh, and I can see here the database was populated.
Cool.
So there are kind of two, I like to, at this point, break down the extension into two different parts. One is the data exploration use case, where you're using it to explore your data, get access to your data, your schema, your indexes, etc. And then the second half is Playgrounds, which is scripting against your database. Mm-hmm. So the first thing I want to walk through with you, Jesse, is the data exploration part. Cool. So here, once I'm connected to the database, I can see the collections that are within that database. So here I only have one collection, reviews. And I can dig further into that. I can see each individual documents here that live in that reviews collection. I can even open a document and do something like change this to I have been playing guitar. So I'm just changing the review. You should probably not do this for a real website.
Let's edit these reviews. That's funny. Okay, keep going.
However, the point I was trying to make is you can edit them here within VS Code and then hit Command S, and then it will save it directly to your database. So the document is updated. It's a super simple, quick way of editing things, and something that is so intuitive to you as you're coding, right?
Yep.
So you can explore the documents, and you can also explore, the schema. So this is using, a sample of your documents. It's dollar sampling documents and extrapolating a schema based on that. And then you can. So this is very helpful because as you're writing your queries, you can reference, what fields can I actually query on.
Yeah, and maybe just good to point out that this is not like a schema that you would write in other languages where this is going to, we didn't define this. This was VS Code, the extension, a MongoDB extension in VS Code, actually inferring what the schema is on a subset of the documents. And so it's really just giving us some helpful hints. So as we're writing a query, we can quickly reference what are the fields in these documents that I can query.
Right, precisely.
Cool.
And then finally, Jesse, you can also, see index. So I don't really have any indexes defined here yet, but you can also see the indexes and their sort order as well.
Awesome.
So that is more or less the data exploration part. You can also do things like, you know, within this database, there's a plus button when you hover over it. That will let you add a collection. So we'll give you a template that you can just, you know, fill out and then run it on the top left through Playgrounds, which I'll cover in just a sec. And that way you can create new collections. Or within indexes, there's also a plus button that you can use to create an index directly from VS Code, so you don't have to jump to MongoSH or Compass or anything like that and switch your window.
Nice. Yeah, I haven't come across many things that you can't do just from VS Code. So it's so helpful. You can even create different types of collections, so like a time series collection, for instance. You can do
Right,
that
for sure.
from right inside VS Code, and then the indexes. That's amazing too. So yeah, sorry.
Awesome. So so yeah, so for the next part, that is the data exploration part. Super helpful, Jesse, as you're building. You know, you can reference your data without having to leave your IDE. But then the next part that I find particularly very, very cool is Playgrounds. So at the bottom here, right below connections, you'll see Playgrounds. You can hit a plus button to create a new Playground file. And Playgrounds are effectively a full Node.js environment that you can write scripts against your DB, right? So what I mean by that is, let me delete the template that it comes with when you create a new Playground. But basically what you can do is you can do something like, you know, I want to use guitar store DB. And then I want to get a singular review that exists in Guitar Store, right? So I can do, and as I'm writing this, you can see, you know, the autocomplete kind of pop up, right?
Yep.
So get collection, I can do reviews here, and then I can do dot find, and then we'll dot find one, and we'll just simply get a singular review here. So let me close that left sidebar. So what I just did was I wrote a simple query that you could potentially write in MongoSH, for example, but in Playgrounds, and I ran that by hitting the play button in the top right, the run button in the top right, and then it gave me a result back from Mongo saying, you know, here's an example representative. Example document in that reviews collection.
Yeah, it returned the first document that it found. Yeah.
Right, the first one.
Yeah.
So the next thing we can do is, you know, the reason the real estate and Playgrounds is so nice is you're effectively just writing scripts, but you're running them against Mongo, right? So you can write some really big aggregations as well. I'm not going to write any big aggregations offhand, but something like, let's say we want to get top reviewers by the number of reviews that they have left. So here I can do db.reviews.aggregate. And then here's another cool part about the autocomplete is when I do something like a group operation and I hit tab, it already autocompletes that for me. So all I have to do here is I can write, you know, reviewer name. So we're going to group by the reviewer name, and then we can do something like account. That's the field that we're going to expose the number of reviews that they've left. And here we can do sum as the operation. So every time we find a reviewer, we can add one to it, add one to their account tally. And then after that, what we can do is we can sort this because we want to display it in the top order, like a stack rank list. Yeah. We can sort count, and then we'll do that in the descending order. Nice. So the next trick with Playgrounds is you can highlight a block. So earlier, if you remember, Jesse, I hit the play button on the top right. But this time, what I want to do is, let's say I just want to run a particular set of a block of code, then I can just highlight that in Playgrounds, hit that light bulb button, and you'll see run selected Playground blocks.
Nice.
So when you hit that,
instead of it running the entire file, just that block.
Right.
Nice.
We'll just run the block, and here, it gives me a top order list of reviewers, and then the count tells me the number of reviews that they've left.
Nice. John really liked that guitar.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it looks like he's an avid shopper on our website.
Nice. And then just one more thing to point out. If you look at the top, the name of that file, it's the .js, so it's basically a JavaScript file, right?
Right. It's .mongodb.js.
Mm-hmm.
That's the extension that the Playground files are stored in.
Nice. Let me just address one more question here. Yeah. Can you explain again the connection string side? So again, if you're using Atlas and you go to your database, you're going to see a connect button. When you click that connect button, it's going to give you some options. VS Code is one of those options. When you click that, it's going to give you a connection string. Within the connection string, you're going to have your username and your password that you'll have to edit, and then use that connection string in VS Code in the MongoDB extension to connect to your database. I hope that explains it. If not, again, there's videos linked in the description or in the comments that goes through that entire process, and you can go back and watch those at any time.
For sure. And yeah, like my first experience using that UI, it was super intuitive, and it gave me kind of all the options, including, Compass, Mongo SH, and takes you kind of like guides you through how you can connect to your cluster. So it should be pretty simple once you get on the website.
Yep.
Cool. And then Jesse, one more thing. So we wrote these queries against our database after we seeded our database. But I also want to switch back to our website, if you remember. And when I hit refresh, I can see that now all of a sudden our table is populated with reviews.
Nice.
So now we're gotten to the point where we have extracted the zip. We've kind of placed the reviews in the DB, and now we can see it on the website. However, one thing that is interesting to me, Jesse, particularly, is the ratings tell a story, but I also maybe want to run sentiment analysis on the review that users have left us. Nice. Right?
What are we going to do to do that?
For sure. So now I'm going to show how you can use Playgrounds to do exactly that. So nice. When I switch back here, I'm going to create a new Playgrounds file. So I'm just going to go to MongoDB here, click on the plus button right next to Playground, and I'm going to start from scratch. So the first thing I want to do is I want to limit the number of reviews that we're processing through OpenAI, because we have little time here, and I don't want to be hung up on an API response for a little while. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the polarizing reviews. So what I mean by that is reviews that are rated 1 out of 5 or 5 out of 5.
Okay.
And I'm going to take the review message or the words that our users have left in that review, and then I'm going to basically pass it to OpenAI, Azure's OpenAI service, and then ask for a sentiment back, whether it's positive, negative, or neutral. And then I'm going to store that sentiment within those. I'm going to update the review documents to reflect that sentiment. Basically, like we're going to append a field. Does that make sense?
Yes, makes sense to me. Audience, if you have any questions, let us know in the chat. But it makes sense to me.
Sweet. So I'm gonna copy and paste some blocks. The first one is simply doing an aggregation to get reviews that are either equal to 1, or the rating that are either equal to 1 or 5. So this is again the polarizing reviews part, right? Yep. And then next, I'm gonna write some logic. I'm gonna predefine some logic, which is I will call out to a function called sentiment analysis, and this is a function that doesn't exist yet, so we'll work through that in just a bit. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take those reviews that I get back from Mongo. I'm going to convert that into a string, so I can pass it off to GPT, and then GPT can do a lot of the work for me and give me back a JSON that I can. So here I'm expecting a JSON back from GPT of all the reviews with an appended field sentiment. And then I'm going to loop through all those reviews. And then finally, in our database, I'm going to update each one and then add in the sentiment field that GPT gave me.
Nice.
So, so now that that part is explained, I'm going to go ahead and write this sentiment analysis function. I say write, but I will paste it here one by one. So first of all, what I want to do is I want to I want to do some imports, right? So as I mentioned earlier, this is a full Node.js environment. Playgrounds are, so you can do things like require an NPM package directly in Playgrounds and use them here in your script. So here I've simply used process and .env to get some environment variables with that contain my credentials here. So I'm not just broadcasting it out in your live, Jesse.
Yep.
And then another thing I've done is I've also imported the Azure OpenAI NPM package. So I'm going to use that in my function in just a sec. So next, I'm going to pull in the actual function code.
While you're doing that,
yep,
sorry. I was just going to say again, like you can use NPM packages here. You can use the core packages that are included with Node, but if you can also add other packages, and there's a quite unique way of going about adding that. I do cover that in another YouTube video, linked in the description or in the comments somewhere. You can watch that again if you want to add your own NPM packages. I go through the steps on how to do that.
For sure. Great point. So just to continue here on the function itself, the sentiment analysis function, really quickly, it's simply just instantiating the OpenAI client here. I'm using the GPT 3.5 Turbo deployment. And I'm asking, I'm giving GPT a system input that says, hey, just provide an answer back in JSON and include no other commentary. And I'm doing this for my advantage, Jesse, so that whenever I get a response, I can simply parse that response because I know it's a JSON string, right? And directly write script against it.
Nice.
And then here in my actual prompt, what I'm doing is I'm passing off all the reviews, the polarizing reviews that we got back from Mongo. And if you remember, we passed it as a string back here, down here when we actually call this function. So I can just directly include this in my prompt, and the prompt will just have the string version of those reviews.
Nice.
And finally, once we have this messages array kind of set up, we can then make a call out to GPT and get the chat completion. And once we have a response from GPT, which will effectively just append the sentiment field into each review message, we can just parse it as a JSON and then send it back to where we call the method. And here, if you remember earlier, I mentioned we're going to loop through each one of those reviews and then update the review doc in Mongo.
Adding that field to each of those docs. Yep.
Cool. Correct. And we're using the ID to find the document to update, and then we're just going to set the sentiment field in there.
Nice.
Cool. So that was a lot, I know. But now we're finally there. So let's see. Let me hit play, the play button on the top right, and run this script.
Let's see if it works.
Let's see. Fingers crossed.
Anytime you're doing live coding and it requires using a third-party API of some sort, and you never know.
Oh, you never know for sure.
Never know what's going to happen. Is the internet down? Oh, it worked.
Well, yeah. Okay. So it supposedly worked, right? So it updated these reviews with sentiment. So what I can do next is verify it, right? So so let me just pull this query in. And the query is simply just doing the exact same thing as earlier. We're just We're just trying to find reviews that are have rating equal to 1 or 5, and we're just going to project these fields, and then we're going to sort by the rating in a descending order. Nice. So when I run this again, I'm doing this in the same file. I'm highlighting the block and I'm hitting the light bulb to just run that specific aggregation.
Cool. Yeah, we don't want to run the whole sentiment analysis again.
For sure not.
Okay.
So here on the right-hand side, as we can see, let me just make this smaller. As we can see, each one of those reviews, GPT has gone ahead and added a sentiment, and then some are positive, some are neutral, and some are negative.
Okay, awesome.
Cool. So now that we've gotten to this point, one thing I want to point out is in Node, Jesse, it's a little less it's a little less cool. But what you can do is whenever you write these aggregation, like huge aggregations in Playground, you can highlight them from this square bracket to the end square bracket, and then hit the light bulb button, and hit and export it to a language. That MQL to a language of your choice. So let's say I was building a Java application or a Python application or Ruby application. I can export that query to the language. So this time I'm just writing it in Node.
Basically the same.
Yeah, so it just gave me the query itself here, but I can do things like include an import statement or include driver syntax by just hitting these buttons here at the top. So for example, whoops. Okay, in any case, you can take my word for it. It does include the import statement.
Nice.
So once we have this result, what I want to do now is I want to create a update our website here, that if you remember this website, to have the sentiment analysis. So we have a gigantic table of name, review, rating, and sentiment. In order to do that, I'm going to go back to VS Code, and then I'm going to go back to my index file. So here, I can simply just copy this reviews endpoint. I'm not going to update the existing reviews endpoint because we can leave it there. But I'm going to add a new endpoint, something like polarized reviews, right? And within this endpoint, let me just copy something here.
Yeah, copying and pasting is much quicker, especially when you're live coding. Making sure that you don't have a typo or whatever, and it's a little bit quicker.
For sure.
That's awesome.
For sure. So let me so here in the reviews endpoint, all we did was just run a simple find. In this case, it's a little bit more complicated. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write an aggregation. So if you remember, we exported that earlier from Playgrounds to Node.js language. Jesse, if you remember that.
Yep.
And then what I can do is I can copy that syntax and paste it directly into my application code. So I'm not stuck translating, MQL to the app code that I'm writing.
Yeah, because it's written a little differently in Python or in Java. So it's makes it much easier to then transition that. So you use the playground to like get a prototype going, and then it's easy to transition that into your actual application.
For sure, and just to hammer home the point, I just translated that into Java.
Nice.
And this is kind of what it looks like. Of course, it's a simple thing to write ultimately, but it does save a ton of time to just be able to export
nice
to the language.
Yes.
So jumping back into this endpoint, so here we have a new endpoint. I just created a new endpoint called polarized reviews. And I'm simply just doing the same aggregation of getting the reviews with rating 1 out of 5 or 5 out of 5. And then I'm projecting these fields. And then ultimately, I'm calling so I'm running the aggregation function. I'm converting that into an array. And then I want to pass this back to the front end. So I'm going to pass it back to a new EJS file called polarized reviews. And I'm just going to pass off the reviews that we got back from Mongo.
Nice.
So when I go to, let me pull up my sidebar one more time. When I go to views, if you remember this index file, we called polarized reviews.ejs. So that's the EJS file we want to render. I wrote this from before. It's literally the same thing as reviews.ejs. The only difference is there's a sentiment field here in the table, sentiment column. and I'm displaying the sentiment data that I'm getting back from the backend.
Simple. Just add in a column. Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
All right.
So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and kill my server and restart it.
Nice.
And that's just because we added a new endpoint.
Mm-hmm.
So let me first make sure. So the reviews endpoint still works, so that is good. So now if I go to polarize reviews, I can all of a sudden see 4 columns. The first one is the review, the reviewer name, the review that they left, the rating that they gave, and the sentiment that we got back from GPT for the review note that the reviewer left.
Nice.
And one funny thing that I can easily spot here, Jesse, is John here. He said, "I bought this guitar last week and I'm impressed with the quality and sound. I would definitely recommend it to anyone who's looking for a good bargain." However, John left a rating of 1 out of 5.
What's wrong with John? I thought John liked this.
But GPT caught that,
Yeah.
GPT was like, "Hey, this is a positive review, but the rating is 1." So,
we need to talk to John.
We want to make sure our reviews are as pristine as they can be, of course. So maybe there's at some point we may want to reach out back to John and say, "Hey, was there a mistake in the rating that you left because your review was positive," right?
Yeah. Same thing with Jenny. We need to contact John and Jenny.
For sure, yeah. So what we can do in order to do that also is we can write a very, very simple query. So we can write something like this, where we find reviews where the sentiment is marked as positive, and the rating is 1. So here, if I run this query, whoops.
You need more real estate.
Yeah, need more real estate. I'm zoomed in a lot. So here I can click run playground block, and then right here, as you mentioned, Jesse, Jenny and John are the ones that we likely want to reach out back to because they mentioned, a positive review, but their sentiment or the rating that they left was 1 out of 5.
Yeah. Did you do that on mistake? What's the deal? Can you change that? Yeah. Okay.
We won't force their hand, but it's just hey, FYI, there may have been a mistake.
Yeah. 1 is not good. 5 is good.
Okay. Yeah. So that's basically being able to use GPT for something simple like generating a sentiment and then putting it back into or populating your database with the sentiment that GPT generated. However, there's another cool use case. So I believe, Jesse, earlier you pointed out these playgrounds are files that you can save, commit to your GitHub repo, and then share amongst your teammates, right? So one really cool use case that I find with Playgrounds is the ability to, let's say you have a development team that relies on a dev, like a local development environment. And more specifically, maybe it's a container, like dev environment containers that they spin up, right? So with those, one possibility is like you may want to seed these databases with the exact same data so that everyone across your dev team is testing against the same data, right?
Yeah.
So what we did earlier, let me actually remove this.
Yeah, I almost forgot about that seed file.
I mentioned earlier, I'll come back to it. So this is my promise.
Okay.
So basically what we did earlier at the very start is we mentioned we're going to unzip a file and then seed our database. And the script that I showed earlier looks kind of like this. So we've required some packages, so more specifically child process, path, file system. And then here we unzip the file and then take the data right here and then insert many, and so insert all those reviews that we got extracted from our core website into this new tool or this new website that we're building.
Nice.
And a really cool thing about this is every time you can run this against, let's say, Mongo SH. So every time your dev container spins up, or you're spinning it from scratch or something like that, you can run this seed file. So each time that you're spinning up your dev container, you have up-to-date data that your team is testing against. Does that make
Nice.
sense?
Yeah, yeah. That's awesome because you could then automate it and just every time it's just the same for no matter which developer is going in and using it. That's amazing.
Right, for sure. And I think, so I used to work as, I was an engineer on a development acceleration team, which essentially looked after like local development environments that engineers used across the company. And something like this would be, an amazing thing for us to have, would have been an amazing thing for us to have back in the day.
Nice, nice.
So that is another one. And then the final one that I wanted to show, which I think is pretty cool, is all the review data that I got for this demo. I actually generated them using OpenAI. So surprise, surprise, they weren't real reviews. But I used the OpenAI service to kind of generate them. So here is like, I know this is a big file, but again, it's the same process. We imported these libraries, including the OpenAI Azure OpenAI client. Here, if I can use this, I simply said reply in JSON and include no other commentary. And I asked for GPT to generate product reviews for me. So here I'm saying 2 just to make it quicker, but you can say generate X amount of product reviews for me.
Nice. Don't do this in actual production. I'm pretty sure it's illegal to leave fake reviews on your actual products.
For sure.
Okay.
And this is a script that you can write in Playgrounds, and you can run it in the Playground, and then so here let me run this really quickly just to show that it works. And then you can do a direct insert many against your database. So you're populating, you're querying GPT, you're getting a response from GPT, and you're populating your database all in the Playground file without having to leave your IDE.
That's awesome. And so there's the results we got back from OpenAI.
Right.
Nice.
So I didn't do any insert or anything like that here. I've commented that out, but this is so I've just logged it to my console, and this is the output that we get.
Nice. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And then maybe one final thing that is very interesting is when I go to the MongoDB extension here and I right click on my connection, I can launch a MongoDB shell. So without having to, my real state here is a little challenging, but without having to leave your IDE, you can just launch the shell here and you can run commands. So for example, I can say guitar store. So I can say use guitar store database. So it's switched to the guitar store DB. And all of these queries that we've been running, they've been against the rating field, if you remember, Jesse. So what we can do is, in order to make those queries faster, we can just create an index. And I'm just going to use, the shell here to create the index myself. So db.reviews.create index, and then we can say rating. So there you go. It said it's created this index for me. I can go back to go back to Mongo, not GPT, refresh this. Actually, the other thing you can also do is you can directly refresh from the database, which is really cool. I refresh the whole cluster, but you can refresh just the DB. And then I can look into indexes, and then I can see that the index I created from the shell is already here.
Nice.
That is more or less it for the demo part. And yeah, let me know if there are any questions.
I think it's pretty amazing that you did everything from VS Code. Like you literally didn't do anything outside of VS Code. You're able to build the entire application, connect to your database, see everything that you needed. You never had to actually go into Atlas to do anything.
Never. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. Let's see. I'm just looking through to see if there are any questions. Oh yeah, if you could go back to that last back into VS Code.
Yeah.
In the close your sidebar. And then right there at the top of your terminal is that connection string. So somebody was asking about earlier what the connection string looks like. It should look just like this. It's that part where it says credentials. That's where you would have your username and your password. Obviously, it's being hidden here because VS Code is smart and it's not going to show anybody your actual credentials. But it used that connection string to open up the Mongo shell in the terminal for you, so you didn't have to do any of that. So that's pretty cool.
Yep, for sure.
And then a bunch of questions. Can we get a recording? Yes, this video, this live stream is going to be saved on YouTube and LinkedIn. You'll be able to watch it on demand as soon as we're done on either platform. There's a question here. Let's see. Put that up here. Is it possible to open the entire collection in a grid view and edit an individual cell? So I think, well, I don't think that's possible, and you're probably used to that from a relational database where it's basically like a table, right? If you want to pull up a document here in VS Code, the documents are structured like a JSON object. So you could edit it that way, but to like visually see everything, I don't think there's a way to do that in VS Code. You could do that in Atlas. You can kind of see all of the stuff laid out there in Atlas, but I don't think you can see that view in VS Code. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you cannot. You're right, Jesse. I mean, it is a very interesting use case and something that we could potentially explore. But another way you can also do this, Jesse, is you can do it through Compass. Compass has a tab there to show a table view, and I believe it either lets you. I believe it lets you edit inline in that table view.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, you're right. Maybe that's a good suggestion. Maybe it'll get added into the extension at some point. Right now, you can't do that in VS Code, but there are other ways to do that. Another question here is how resource intensive is this extension? Is it going to slow down VS Code?
So I've personally, I'm a product manager, so it's not like, I have several dev environments launched in my local machine that are hogging my memory. But, so far, we've not had complaints about performance with the extension.
Nice. Yes, and you can check out the VS Code Marketplace for the extension. There's tons of reviews, 4.5 star rating. So I think it's pretty good. Someone mentioned Compass. Yes, Compass. We mentioned that. Would be good to see that grid view. Yes. Oh yeah, I think the comments are coming in after the fact. Yeah, we talked about that. Oh, is there a way to see? There's another question here. Is there a way to see an execution plan in the VS Code extension?
Yep. So basically, all of these commands that we're running again in VS Code is anything that you write in shell, it will run in Playgrounds. Basically, that's effectively how I would think about Playgrounds. So this means if you're writing, a .explain, then the output's going to show you the explain plan.
Yeah. Cool. So yeah, you can do all the same things there. Here's another question. I don't know if you want to answer this or not. My colleague uses IntelliJ. I use VS Code. Is there a similar extension for IntelliJ?
I really love this question because it is something that we're thinking about for sure, IntelliJ. So Emily, I will be sure to be in touch with you after this because I would love to know more about kind of your pain points or desires with the IntelliJ extension.
Nice. Yes, we love this extension, and we will expand it as much as we can to other platforms where we can. I'm sure. Let's see. Looking through the questions, I don't see any other questions. I think this has been an amazing session. I love VS Code, and this extension is amazing as well. So. Any last words, anything that you want to add before we head out?
No, Jesse, I had a lot of fun. Thank you for having me here. And, anytime I'm able to kind of show off the power of this extension, it's always a pleasure because I know that, I've heard so many tremendous great things from customers and how it's helped speed up development processes for them. And any feedback that you have, I believe there's an open forum that you can leave us feedback on. Yes. And yeah, looking forward to making the extension, like improving the extension over time, and hearing from you on what you like, what you don't like.
Nice. Yes. And again, if you don't have the extension already, here's a link. The link is in the description or in the comments as well. You can install the extension, leave us a review. Like you said, let us know what you think about it, if there's any requests and whatnot. And we appreciate that. Now, again, this has been the Azure Cloud Connect show on MongoDB TV. We have these shows routinely. We have our live podcast on Tuesdays. I forgot, Mondays we have our news update. Tuesdays is a podcast. Wednesdays we have webinars. Thursdays we have Cloud Connect with various cloud partners such as Azure. Every other Friday we have Learning with Luce and the what is the other show? It is Design Reviews, where we go through data modeling design reviews of really cool databases and show you how to actually model, how you should model them in MongoDB versus a relational database. Those are really cool. So look out for those. Again, Gaurab, thank you for joining. Oh, great time. And thank you, audience. And we'll see everyone later.
Bye, all.